All right, welcome to the book club. I'm Dylan here with the freckled 10. Keith, what's up, buddy?
I'm here with Dylan. I don't have anything.
Well, here at the Buddy Book Club, we're breaking down some bestsellers, and this week we'll be discussing the second book in the First Law trilogy, Before They Are Hanged, by Joe Abercrombie. If you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach out to us on any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com. Sign to our DMs on X, Instagram, that's Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us, iTunes, Spotify. Please download, subscribe. 5-star reviews would be great. Please and thanks. Keith, Before They Are Hanged, published in 2007, 4.36 on Goodreads. I was pleasantly surprised about that. We had previously read The Blade Itself, which is the first book of the First Law trilogy, first of the series.
2 years ago.
Yeah, it was. I looked it up. It was just over 2 years ago. So, Keith, my question to you is, what made you want to return for the second installment?
We really liked the writer. We liked the story and characters, but like it just didn't really have any ending, and it was like it kind of just didn't go anywhere. So I think we were like, well, let's give it another shot. But it wasn't one of those things where we got it done and it was like, well, we have to go to book two.
It's always been sitting there in the back of my mind being like, I really enjoyed that first one. Why haven't we gone back? And I broke my cardinal rule. I went back and I listened to our episode on it because I remembered nothing from it.
Any good?
Episode was enjoyable. I was like, these guys can have a conversation. And it reminded me of like what was actually happening in the story, which more importantly, I was proud of, because 9 times out of 10, I'm thinking when we do our pods, like we don't talk at all about the book. Let's jump right into Before They Are Hanged with some stock up, stock down. Keith, what do you got for stock up?
Yeah, stock up, getting your face smashed in.
Okay.
Stock up. Another way to say this is getting a slice of humble pie. But Jezal is kind of that one dude you don't want on a road trip. Just complaining about everything. The food's bad. Oh, there's no showers out here. I guess they don't have showers out there. But you know what I'm saying. They're just complaining about everything. And it's like, bro, everyone's in the same situation. Just buck up. You're going to have, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating a lot of food, you're going to have one of those days where you're just like, yeah, I'm fucking pissed at everything. That happens. I get it. You can't be that guy the whole trip. And then the dude gets smashed in the face.
With a mace, too, which sounds honestly like one of the worst ways to get smashed in the face.
Not great. They don't have like dentists or anything out there either. So it's not going to be a good time. But all of a sudden, food tastes better. The sun shines brighter. He's just a good dude all of a sudden. And so I think there's something to be said about just getting absolutely dominated in the face, makes you appreciate life. And I will say one thing, I think growing up in New England, you kind of, which is nice, I think I've mentioned this before, is like you kind of get humbled all the time because all your friends and family are always making fun of you as like a way to keep you in check. Yeah. You know what I mean? We invented the "you think you're better than me" slogan, and that's because you got to keep people in your place. They try to wear something fancy, you shit on that fancy thing. They try to show off a car, you shit on the car. You know what I mean? Like you got to keep people in their place. And this guy just hadn't been kept in his place. So you need a physical violence, unfortunately, to do that. I do appreciate that, but I was going to tell you a story. We were playing flag football. I play flag football on the side here, and there's one dude on the other side is just trash talking the whole fucking game. The whole game. And I just kept on thinking, like, no one's ever punched this guy in the face. Like, he was called one of the guys on our team fat.
Oh.
He was like, you got to lose 10 pounds. You want to stay with me? And I'm like,
Weird.
Bro, this is a 30-year-old plus flag football league. What are you doing? This Jezal motherfucker needs to get in the face.
Did you bring your mace? Did you
I
pull
wasn't
your
going to
mace
do it
out of your football bag?
Anyways, that was just the Jezal moment I was experiencing. I was like, this guy needs to get smashed in the face.
So do you think he had that new lease on life where he felt he was so close to death in that moment that he then felt like he could hang? Or was it the way that he was brought into the group? Because my first stock up was those useless leadership / managing people seminars some of us are forced to do in the corporate world. There's a lot of like, managing up, like you're required to attend the series and, or how to give bad news to you or how to talk to your subordinates and stuff like that. Oh, it's honestly, I had a friend recently. He's a professional poker player. We had a golf weekend. We're hanging out and this other person had just got a job after being off for a while. And he said, I forgot how soul sucking being a cubicle monkey is. It's just absolutely soul sucking. And my friend that's a poker player honestly was like, what do you mean by that? He's never worked a corporate job. He's never really worked any job except for working for himself. I mean, obviously what he does is difficult, but he has no understanding of that. And so I'm trying to explain these types of things to him that you're forced into doing, like working for the man. And he was just could not fathom that idea. So it was funny.
It'd be like sitting at the table for 2 hours and having to fold your hand for 2 hours straight, but then having someone behind you telling you should fold that. You should fold that every time. That's what corporate job
analogy.
Is like. That's the analogy you used to hear. Yeah.
But
imagine how crazy that would make you. That's what it
is.
But
those useless seminars and whatnot, I think Logan sat on a few because they sure worked for him. So one of our groups is the Ferro, Bayaz, Logan, Jezal, we got Kwai and Longfoot. They're headed to the edge of the world to find the seed. But it's a bit of a ragtag group. None of these people obviously have much relationship together. Most of them don't even like each other. I don't think anyone really likes anyone else, like maybe Kwai and Bayaz. But other than that, they don't want to be there. Logan is the glue, though, or at least he identifies himself as being the glue. And he takes very different approaches with Jezal and Ferro. Ferro doesn't even want to be around Jezal. She thinks he's soft and pompous and whatnot, which is true. But Logan knows at some point we're going to all have to rely on each other. So I better bring this group together. He's like Denzel in Remember the Titans. You know, he's like, all right, I got to figure out all these different personalities and how they're going to mesh. And with Jezal, he doesn't talk down to him and that, oh, you've never fought anyone, you've never killed anyone, like you suck. He's just like, hey, it's going to be all right. You know what I mean? Whenever Jezal messes up, he doesn't scold him for it or make fun of him. He builds up his confidence, which is great. And with Ferro, he just straight up ignores her. And so when she's mean to him or whatnot, because he knows that she just kind of wants to get into it. And so instead, he just doesn't get in. He refuses to get into it with her. Well, you know, until he does, if you know what I'm saying. But, you know, he refuses. And because of that, they kind of bond because they have like a mutual respect for one another, because she's a super badass. He's a super badass. And so they respect each other that way, even though they might not see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. And then it totally works out. I mean, Jezal ends up doing well in that fight. He just unfortunately gets maced in the face at the end by the last person who he didn't know. And Ferro and Logan create this kind of like Rambo Home Alone type situation for those 12 guys that are coming at them up the hill. And they survive when they're all thinking, you know, it's pretty much two of us really, because Jezal hasn't even swung his sword in anger. So it's really two of us against these 12 guys. And they end up all surviving, even though Jezal takes a hit. But so stock up to Logan really taking it in for those leadership meetings. Most of the time I'm got drool hanging out of my mouth when I'm sitting in one of those.
The leadership things would be like, hey, you got to make an acronym that defines, you know, unity and teamwork. And, you know, it's like all that type of shit. Instead of it's just supposed to be, you should probably treat each individual based on their individual needs. Yeah. That's it. That's all you need to do. And that's what he's doing. So it's the opposite of these like one size fits all, put everything in a fucking acronym, have a flywheel, have a whatever the other 5 other things they do at every corporate thing.
Isn't flywheel like a spin place you go to?
That's like half of the companies do now. They're like, see, first we bring this in and we create, you know, demand, and then we do this, and then it turns into this, and then it starts all over again. God, shut up. That stuff. So yeah, I think he does the opposite of the corporate jargon.
Well, the one I was in, we talked about, you know, focusing on people's individuality and like what works for them might not work for someone else. Unfortunately, then when you do that, they have everyone take like Myers-Briggs stuff, and it's like who cares about any of this stuff? Just you know what I mean?
It's like let's put everyone in a box in a different way.
Yeah. You know? But my second stock up, which was related, was that a tiger can indeed change his stripes stock up, and once again with Jezal, I think we had talked in the first book about how pretty sure you hated Jezal, which is understandable, and thought he was going to amount to nothing. And I said, I think something's going to come of this guy. And lo and behold, he
takes a mace to the face.
He takes a mace to the face, but he changes his whole behavior, and he's not the douchebag that he was in the first book. He's just
Is
less
he an
douchey.
asset though? He's just now a normal person.
Well, he is
Like,
extremely skilled at sword fighting. So he just had never done it in anger.
Just not dodging maces.
Yeah, that wasn't included in the training.
Okay, fair enough.
But now at least if you get into a fight, if you get into a scrap, you feel like, all right, he can contribute, as opposed to before it was, all right, you go guard the wagons.
Yeah.
That's my point.
All right.
What else did you have for stock up?
Well, mine also, I guess, we're staying in the same realm here, but minding the pot, stock up. I don't know if you caught that term, but I fucking loved it.
No.
It's basically the cook of the night. So everyone takes turns minding the pot.
Oh, okay.
And that's like you're stirring in your own ingredients. So I figured you'd love this. They're on a camping on a journey, and everyone has a job. And so one person's minding the pot that night. The other people are gathering firewood. The other people are getting herbs, things like that, right? So I was a big fan. I thought he was like, that's how you bring the chemistry together. Is like you mind the pot together. I was like, all right.
Yeah, I like that. I'm sure Caroline would like that. Whenever we go on family trips, I'm always the one minding the pot, which I don't necessarily.
Well, you're supposed to do different turns. That's the whole
yeah,
point.
but
It's
she's like,
everyone...
let someone else take a turn. Like someone else has to cook. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, we can't hang out. You can't parent. You're just cooking all the time. But I'm like, I'm the only one that can cook, So if no one else can mind the pot, then what are we doing here?
Well, I feel like everyone should bring their own thing.
Yeah,
like, hey, listen,
sure.
I'm a burger guy. I'll cook burgers all day, every day. And then, the next person's, maybe you're more of a fancy guy. Maybe, more of a, fancy for me would be bratwurst, but yeah.
Triscuits with peanut butter. No, my stepdad makes a good steak, so he usually cooks up a nice sous vide's a nice steak. Yeah, that's his thing.
Oh, okay. I love that.
My next stock up was The Butterfly Effect, and I'm not talking about
the movie.
No, I'm not talking about the hit 2004 movie starring Ashton Kutcher. That is a candidate for the Rotten Tomato variance, by the way. It's a 3481. I looked it up. 3481.
Oh, wow.
I remember it being good.
Yeah, it's one I didn't want to rewatch. It kind of had the similar effect as that drug movie that we talked about.
Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, it has like a little nightmarish. Like, it's definitely not a scary movie, but it's very scary. So
I remember
don't
it,
know why.
and I remember it being kind of like Tony Scottish, where, have you seen Man on Fire lately? Or
Man on Fire is great. Yeah.
But it's a lot of like quick cuts, and there's like weird colors going on the screen, and it's just like, whoa, it's kind of dizzying.
Yeah. It's
Tony
like
Scott
trying to be artsy, but like the way that I make it artsy is like by blurring the screen. I don't get that. Or like being out of focus. It's like, why is that artsy? I don't get it. It's just like harder to see.
Tony Scott's a legend. Your favorite movie.
The train guy? God damn it. The train's blurred. And it's the enemy.
But I'm talking about the butterfly effect, the chaos theory that a minor thing like a butterfly flapping its wings can cause massive unpredictable changes elsewhere. Tornado in Chile or whatever the case is. I just made that up. I don't know. But, and the example here is Column West tossing Prince Ladislaw off a cliff after he finds him trying to rape Cathill or whatever her name is. But obviously West was into Cathill and Cathill. And I get it. You see someone trying to rape someone, fuck yeah, toss him off a cliff. I get it. But he acted in haste, and obviously that's the guy who's going to be king once the king dies. So it creates an interesting string of events, which eventually, by the end of the book, Prince Reynald, who's his brother, he gets murdered. So now it's like the king has no heirs, and something's going to happen in the next book. So yeah, it's just one little situation by Ladislaw, and Colin West gives him the old heave ho.
I kind of love the Northman's mentality, and this is I think goes back to the corporate world a lot, actually. The Northman's like mentality is like they won't like money, I guess, but it's not really the end all be all for them. It's more about like someone that they can lead and follow and like trust as the leader. So the idea of a prince that just inherits this, it doesn't make any sense. They're like, why is this fucking dumbass? Why do I listen to him? It doesn't matter. It's like, well, he's like lineage. It's like, so who cares? Like, what's he done for me lately? So the Southern people or the Union people, I guess it's because they have their hands in everything, and the money is kind of what they follow. So it's almost like a middle manager or someone that's like higher up that you have to listen to even if they're an idiot because they're paying you, right? So like that's kind of where I saw that. The best part was when the Northman was my favorite scene. Spoil that, but when Wes does that finally, I'm like, thank God, get rid of this fucking shitty person. The Northmen were just response was just like, well, I guess that's the end of that. Like no, like they didn't even care. Like wasn't like being like, oh my, there was no reaction. I think they said, well, that's the end of that. I reckon that's there. That's the only thing they said about it. I fucking love that. So,
I love all the Northmen in this book are amazing. Who's the guy that they meet in the woods? Scissors or whatever. He basically wants to leave Bethod and grab his calls and I think it's calls, whatever they are, and bring them with Dogman's crew and Three Trees.
Yeah.
But that in exchange is so good when Dogman's like hunting him down and then he's like, do you have a knife? And it's funny, but it's also tense because you're like, what is this, is this guy being for real or not? And then he goes back to camp and it's a lot of like, can I sit down or what's the deal here? It was just, the Northmen are just, they're good hangs.
They're awesome.
Where Ladislaw is clearly not a good hang. But I did enjoy Ladislaw's scenes. His ineptitude and the way he approached things, I thought was hilarious. I wasn't LOLing per se, but...
He was the Braveheart, the son in Braveheart. That's what he was.
The son in Braveheart.
The king, the kings, who was like, I hired my guy. He's really good at strategy. And the guy just throws him out the window.
Yeah.
that's the Northman.
He gets tossed out the window too. Yeah, so there you go.
Well, his son doesn't.
Oh, his boyfriend does.
Yeah.
Yeah, although Ladislaw had more bravado, where he was like, wanted to go into battle. Was like, I could do this. Like, oh, chase them down. They're retreating. And West is just like, you're an absolute moron. This is a feint. Like, what are you talking about? So but I really did enjoy Ladislaw while he was around and his bitching and moaning. And it's funny because, he might be the king or the heir to be the king, but once you're in a survival situation, everyone is equal. There is no hierarchy.
Yeah, that's why he gave him his jacket. I was like, bro, that's a
when West did that, I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Just keep that for yourself. But West is also trying to work his way up the corporate ladder. He was hoping for something afterwards, but then he ended up tossing his boss off a cliff. So there you go. Did you have any other stuck-ups?
Last one, quick one. Dirty Work stuck up.
The movie?
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Super underrated movie. Yeah. Amazing movie. But Wes gets into a fight and is like kind of first time in front of the Northmen and earns the name. What was his name? Angry or something? What'd they give him? Ferocious?
Furious, right?
Furious. There we go. Yeah.
He's a named man. Yeah.
Because he goes in the middle of a fight and like in the middle of a fight, he bites a dude's nose off. And anytime there's a nose bite or anything like that, I immediately think that's the Saigon whore that bit my nose off. So stock up. Dirty Work.
So when we used to work together, and when we did work together, this was when you were on that other team, but it was my first week, and our boss took us out to lunch. Like the whole team took us out to lunch. There was, 10 people there. And someone said Dirty Work. And I was like, oh, the movie? I love that movie. And then at pretty much the top of my lungs, I said, that's the Saigon whore that bit my nose off. And immediately, as it left my mouth, was like, that was not the right thing. No one knew what I was talking about. They were not talking about the movie Dirty Work. They were just talking about something that was dirty work.
They're like, construction is dirty work. And you're like, wait.
Yeah, no one had seen Dirty Work, so they couldn't even reference the quote. It was so bad. It was so embarrassing. I said Saigon whore, like in front of all these people I just met. I can't believe I ever recovered from that. But Dirty Work, 2166 on the Rotten Tomato meter. Honestly, terrible.
I gotta do 66. That. Yeah, I'm gonna have to write that right
you're
now.
Gonna have to put 100 in there.
I didn't know Saigon. I thought Saigon was a type of whore forever. I didn't know it was a place. I remember big into the Vietnam, and I just remember being like, Saigon, the capital, is kind of crazy, and it's like that's kind of like how they called that Dirty Work. Until I was like 30, and I was like, oh, it's because she's from Saigon. Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff indeed. My last stock up, a little on the nose, but creatures stock up. So this book, and kind of the first one too, we don't get a lot of the fantasy elements. It's really just kind of a medieval thing that's going on. We know that there's Bayaz, and we've seen him like blow people's heads up with magic. But outside of that happening like once or twice, there's really nothing magical about these books. There's nothing there's no real fantasy elements. We know, or we kind of know, which we'll probably get into later, that there's this whole thing from the original world or whatever, where Bayaz, there's Juvens, there's the Maker, the Master Maker, Canadius, whatever those things are. We know that it exists, but we really don't see it. So I do like that in this book we get a lot more of the Shanka, the Flatheads, who are kind of like orc-like people, and supposedly it was Canadius who birthed them. He like made them out of mud and clay, or it was like mud and iron and stuff. I don't know.
Putties?
Yeah, kind of like putties from Power Rangers.
Power Rangers? You like that?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. We're on the same
But
page.
also like the scene in Lord of the Rings when they show Sauron birthing some Uruk-hai, just like kind of popping them out of sacks in the mud under the underground. So yeah, and they are kind of orcish, the Flatheads. So I like those. I'm glad they were in it. It was kind of like the non-sentient, even though they are sentient beings that you can fight against, like the big hordes, which we see Logan and Ferro do when they go to the old empire. And then also we see them, with the Northmen too, because Bethod has employed some Shanka. But then we also get a little taste, pun intended, of eaters with Glokta, who we haven't talked about at all, but I'm hoping we talk more about Glokta, my guy. Glokta from Boston. And so he finally gets, he traps an eater basically, and we learn a little bit more about them. So I'm glad we had some creatures here to increase the fantasy element, because otherwise it was just this, medieval book, which I'm okay with too. I can enjoy that as well, but just like to expound upon it. Stock down, what do you got?
Stock down Bayaz.
Bayaz?
Yeah, I think he was. You might recall, but I think he was one of my favorite characters from the first one.
You did say that in that episode.
I feel like I remember saying all wizards are all the same. They're all just like rambling, kind of going off the cusp. You kind of can drone them out, but they're like actually saying insightful stuff. They're smoking pipes all the time, and then they'll get angry, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't realize how fucking powerful this person was. But I also forgot that a lot of the wizards also will use their powers and then just all of a sudden be like dead to the world. You got like Yoda, you got Dumbledore, you got Gandalf kind of just, I don't know what happened with Gandalf. He just fucking just jumped down a hole.
Way.
Yeah.
What?
He just fell down a hole, and then there's like, oh yeah, this is his brother. What's from...
He fell to the other side of the world, and he fought a Balrog.
Yeah, I never understood that.
He battled a Balrog.
Beer Fest, where... What was the guy that drank a lot and then dies, and then his brother shows up?
Oh, what's his name? Like Firehouse or something?
Oh, fuck.
I don't even remember.
But anyways, he's like, this is my brother. Just call me the same name. I'll be exactly all the jokes I know. That was so funny.
Yeah, that was good.
Anyways, but that was Gandalf and that. The White Wizard or whatever came back. It's just him. It's like, wait, what? Anywho.
Read some lore, bro. Okay? Holy smokes. Landfill. His name is Landfill.
Landfill. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the real lore right there. But anyways, Bayaz uses his powers, blows like a fucking hole in the ground, but then the next like half of the journey is just a corpse. He like can't do anything. Bro, you're supposed to be the first of the Magi. Like, grow up.
He used all his power.
He used all your mana. He burned all your mana on one spell.
That's yeah.
I thought
you ever played Magic
I thought
the
he'd
Gathering?
have to take an army out. I mean, he basically did like put a light on his like wizard staff like Gandalf, and then he was like, and I'm done for the rest of this time. It's like, bro, you didn't even do anything.
It's honestly like any RPG game where you're playing, or Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever the case is, when you're playing as a sorcerer, they have like a mana pool or whatever or like a magic meter.
I just didn't think that much mana would be burned doing that little of a thing.
Any game you use your superpower,
kill, like 100 people.
It has to regenerate.
He killed like 3.
It's exhausting. All right.
That's what I'm saying. I thought he was first the Magi. I thought he'd be either replenishing quicker or have a much bigger mana pool or anything.
He popped a bunch of heads. Down. How dare you? How dare you? I will say that Bayaz in general was less funny in this book. He had less quips. Maybe it was because it was getting a little more serious for him, where he really wanted to get this seed. And
oh yeah, not to mention the seed. They bring him on a fucking whole journey and nothing's there. So how bad is he? Terrible book for him.
Yeah, it was weird because he used Logan to talk to the spirits, and the spirit had to give it to Ferro, and then it was like, oh, it's a rock. Like what? Like it's just a rock.
Yeah.
Who I don't know. My guy Longfoot throughout that whole thing, maybe the best. He's just like, well, it was a good journey. We're here. That's nice. We saw these beautiful places. Oh, so good. But no, I just thought Bayaz, we kind of lost him a little bit, and I don't want to talk. Well, I'm going to save the other stuff that I have for later. My first stock down is the idea that chivalry is dead. Stock down to that because our guy Nine Fingers, he breaks his dry spell by offering his coat to Ferro. It was legitimately, he says, hey, you're cold. Do you want my coat? She says, yeah. Do you want to have sex with me? And he says, pardon me?
As it should work.
Yeah. And I appreciate that Joe Abercrombie got into the real details of the refractory period, He was like, oh.
I'm glad we've read 50 Shades of Grey and a few other smut books, because it kind of went 0 to 100 real quick, but I'm so used to it from other books that it wasn't as...
She was like, spit on your hand, and I was like, what? Oh my God. 50 Shades,
I think
where
this
you
is
at?
the fourth time we've read Throbbing Cock, so yeah.
Yeah, people got to figure out a different word to use.
Yeah.
One throbs? I don't know. But yeah, he was the refractory period. He was like, yeah, it's been a while, so I'm sorry. That was faster than fast forwarding through a commercial break. But luckily, I've got a banana clip in there, so round 2 is coming up.
I keep that thing on me. I mean, what?
What else did you have for stock down?
Last one, ending on a low note, stock down. Think about every trilogy book or the second movie of any trilogy. They always end on a low note. The Empire Strikes Back. Red Rising, Golden Sun. I feel like The Mistborn ended. I just remember book 2 being bad, so I don't know if it ended on a low note.
Book 2 kind of had its own. That was like when they met the emperor, whoever the guy was, and he pretty much said, like, I was doing this to hold the world together, and now you've unleashed hell, kind of thing.
Oh, so it is. Yeah, so that's all downhill from there. The Hunger Games, The Dark Knight, kind of. Not really, but I know we're trying to set the final chapter, but now I think I mentioned this before, but we end the book, and I'm like, what happened? Nothing happened. All the relationships that were built up seem to be kind of crumbling. They lose all the fronts. Like, nothing's happening in the north. They're losing that war, pretty much. They got decimated. They lose... Glokta loses his battle. What's the third storyline?
The seed.
The seed. They don't find the seed? So I'm just like... So what did we just do? I mean, I know all books are supposed to end on a low note for a second one, but could it kill us to have one storyline that was good? Come on. But I was thinking about this. Why don't they do a good book 2 that ends and is solid? I was trying to think of any series like that. The only one I could think of was the worst movie of all time.
What's that?
The Last Jedi, Star Wars book or episode 8.
Oh, is that when they kill? Do they kill the?
That's where they kill the main guy.
Smaug, or what's his name? Not Smaug.
It all solves everything, and it was literally the worst movie of all time. Never mind, it's a stock up. I should have correct. So in the middle of writing this, I said maybe it's a stock up because I don't want that. Whatever that is, don't do that. So never mind.
It's just so bad because The Force Awakens. That's the first one.
It was great.
So good. It was like. Yeah. I'm so excited for this next trilogy. It was a great movie, phenomenal soundtrack. Soundtrack completely slaps, and it opened up a whole new thing of questions about, oh, who is she? Who's Rey? What's her deal? This, that, and the other thing. Yeah, and then it just unfortunately went so far downhill. So once they went to the casino, and I was like, oh, we're at a casino. Why? I don't want to be here. So, yeah. God. Sorry. What's that guy's name? Who directed it?
Was that the third one or the second one?
That's the second one, I think, when they go to the casino.
I mean, they're all
Yeah.
Second and third one are so bad.
I honestly don't remember them. I would rewatch. Like it was May 4th, not that long ago. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
And I thought about rewatching The Force Awakens. I was like, ooh, I would like that. I would like to watch that.
No, but that's so disappointing.
And then I would just say, oh, it sucks.
I was gonna do Andor for the third time. I would do that way before. Andor is so good.
I started watching the Obi-Wan series. So bad.
It's more like it's nice to see Obi-Wan again. That's all really it is. But it's the storyline.
It's nice to see Obi-Wan, but it was like Kevin Sorbo's Hercules show or like Xena Warrior Princess.
The first episode where Leia's running away.
Yeah, when she's running away
so
and like
bad.
tripping up those guys or whatever the case is. Like
I just kept being like, is that the bassist from Red Hot Chili Peppers trying to track her down? And I was like, that checks out.
Yeah.
All right, this all actually does make sense.
Oh god. All right, my last stock down was nepotism. Stock down, and it just goes back to Prince Ladislaw, who we've talked about probably more than any other character. But yeah, he shouldn't be in charge. Big mistake by the king. Don't let him get out there. And then also, what did he think was going to happen? You give him a rat like this like terrible untrained like military presence, whatever those people were, and he has no leadership himself or around him, and they're fighting against Bethod, who's a good battle commander and overall good strategist.
Well, I think they thought they weren't going to see any action. They're like, yeah, we'll put him in the place that, it's like basically all the politicians' sons. That's like, oh yeah, you're in Vietnam, but they're really like actually in some other country and not doing anything. They're actually, yeah.
Did you have a favorite scene in this book?
Yeah, I already mentioned it, the West thing and just the reaction from the Northmen. I think that was just the funniest part. The whole Northern attitude, I appreciated.
Yeah, it's funny because I had my first one was just, it wasn't even necessarily a scene, but it was the Northmen surviving in the woods with West and his gang. Just, that interaction because the people are so different in that, being the Northmen are one way and everyone else seemed to be another way, but they have to rely on the Northmen because they know what they're doing, and all the interactions I found to be quite enjoyable. But then I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know, the Battle of Dunbreck at the end, which is the final and really the only battle of the book, because the first one that we're talking about with Ladislaw, it was just a rout. So I like Dunbreck. We get some great stuff by Dogman here, when he's talking to the random guy who's next to him, who the guy's like, wait, do we go on 3 or do we go on go? And Dogman's just like, it doesn't really matter as long as you go.
Let's go.
Yeah. So you just got to go. That. Doesn't matter. And Dogman's got a great mentality. We also see Fenris the Feared, not for the first time, because I think we saw him in the last book, but we never saw him running through people like a cave troll in Moria, just absolutely crushing skulls left and right, who eventually, he eventually takes down 3 trees before they're able to beat him back, and, they retreat. But I was wondering throughout the book, why we have a first-person perspective from the Dogman, and it becomes clear once 3 trees goes down and the Northmen decide to crown Dogman as their chief, which is, it's his two Black Dow, and I can't remember the other one, but Dogman's pretty much like, I don't know, because, neither one will follow the other. How do we go about that? But the rest of the calls will follow either of them. And so he's like, this is going to be a tough situation. He talks to both of them. They say, oh, no, you're the leader. What are you talking about? And he's like, no way, no one's going to agree to that. And then the rest of the Northmen are like, oh, of course Dogman's the leader. What do you mean? So it's once again, we've talked about this before, but the people who should lead are the people that don't want to lead. Unfortunately, they have all the skills to do it, but they don't want to be there. And those usually are the best people for the job. And in general, I feel like the Dogman was a great character to be following throughout this book. Except for maybe his thrusting. There was some thrusting there too.
That's why you want to follow that guy,
Yeah.
And that's...
They do have like a great thing when they're wondering like who should go out, and all the other guys in the group are like, well, the only person that should go out, to basically potentially get shot is the guy who got laid last night. And he's like, oh, God damn it, you're right,
Yeah, it's like hitting the hole in one. You have to pay for everything at the bar.
Exactly like that. I feel like we haven't paid enough attention or given enough to Glokta in Dagaska, because I really did like that storyline. There wasn't necessarily a scene or whatnot, but I thought it was the best for politicking or whatever the case is, where he's kind of thrust into this untenable situation of defending a city from the Gurkish who are going to take it, while also trying to solve why the guy he's replacing got killed so that he doesn't get killed, and also that there's potentially a mole in the organization here, or at least one mole. And so he's meeting all these people for the first time, but then and he's in charge of them, which they don't want him to be in charge of them. And he's having to tiptoe around, but then also use his abilities to not die, find this mole, and hold off the city's defenses for as long as possible, basically by, borrowing from Paul to pay Peter, or whatever the phrase is. So, he gets in with the bank, that big bank, Verist and Blank, or whatever it's called. I don't remember. But that obviously is going to be a through line through the next book. And he has the mercenary guy who he basically uses to save his butt. That was good. And I liked his 300 moment where they send the emissary over, and not only does he not capitulate or agree to terms, but he tortures him. So I thought it was a great book for Glokta. But how did you feel about that whole thing?
Yeah, I think Glokta was a fan favorite, or I just liked his character in general, because he's kind of a bad guy, but he's also kind of someone you root for, but he's also kind of shitty. But I mean, I liked him a lot. I didn't think he's
definitely shitty, but he admits to being shitty, which a lot of shitty people don't do.
Yeah, that's true. If you don't put him there, if you put any other character there, that storyline I think is not
boring.
Great.
Yeah,
it's boring. So I think the storyline in general wasn't that great for him to be there, but luckily he could carry it because he's such a good character, essentially.
And it's fascinating how Joe Abercrombie approached it, or just approaches that character in general, where so much of what happens with Glokta throughout both books is internal. Yeah. He says little, but he thinks so much, and so the vast majority of it is internal. And we talked about it in the last book, but the way that the narrator,
I was gonna say, subtly narrator is unreal. I didn't think about it until book 3, and I was like, this guy's incredible.
It's in my love, and I think it was in my love for the last one, but I'm gonna reiterate it, and I'm gonna say it again for the third one, because he might be the best. He honestly might be the best.
Harry Potter, but yeah.
I know Jim Dale. Jim Dale's usually at the top.
Yeah. This is close.
But if you hear
second,
Jim Dale doesn't miss necessarily in Harry Potter, except for when he does Hermione, and it's kind of a miss there. And I'm just I know that I'm talking at the margins here. Jim Dale's the GOAT. But this guy is so good. I don't even know who the narrator is. But he is so good. Every character has a very distinct voice. And
he has a lisp of characters, and
Glokta has his lisp because he's missing teeth, so he's able to do that, and he does different dialects. I don't know. I was I'm blown away every time I listen to this guy. It seems like it's being acted out. It's a real performance. So. Yeah, proud of him.
I'm going to try to look him up so I can actually... Stephen Pacey.
Stephen Pacey, yeah.
Yeah.
My guy. What about best character for you? Not a lot of new ones, but there are some.
I mean, you already mentioned Logan Ninefingers. I think team chemistry guy. I always appreciate the team chemistry guy. The guy that wants to bring everyone together, knowing it's going to help everyone down the road. The other thing that I'm going to try to put together for the third podcast here, because I've got to do for this one, is just his sayings. You have to be realistic. Say one thing for Logan Ninefingers. Say that he's whatever.
Yeah.
He's like 5 or 6 of them.
Never have too many knives.
Just like, yeah. I just love the sayings, and also just anytime there's a dude that is a full psychopath that you never know when that's gonna happen. Great character,
Yeah,
great
you
character,
never
which
know
he can't control.
fun.
Which is, he's probably the one character that is actually, all the other characters are doing bad things, but they want to be better, but they don't really change. He's like, I want to change, and then he's like, but unfortunately I have multi-personality disorder.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into that because I think we're leaking into book 3, which we both started.
No, it does. I mean, it happens in this book. He's in the cave
with Ferro. Yeah, and he
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
goes full bloody
And he did it in the
nine.
last book too,
He goes,
which I love, but I didn't realize he could kill Ferro. I didn't realize. Remember, he was like, "I'm gonna kill this Ferro," and then eventually snaps out of it. Luckily,
yeah, exactly. He's Weapon X. There's a reason why his name is Logan, and as is Wolverine, because they both go into berserker mode, and they see red, and there's no. It doesn't matter
I was
what's
thinking more of
in
like the
his
Hulk,
way.
but yeah,
Yeah, but it's more brutal. It's more
yeah, that's
like
true.
popping people's heads with their bare hands and and laughing. The Hulk isn't
Which we love.
necessarily like thinking as he do it. The Bloody Nine's like, I want blood, give me blood. So yeah, I do love me some Logan Nine Fingers. Still alive. That's his other one. Still alive.
Oh yeah.
I loved the Dogman in this one because we really didn't get a lot of him in the last one. He was just part of the gang, and we did in this obviously, but I think it's got to be Longfoot, the guide.
Oh my god, he's the worst.
He was so absurd that he brought the comedy.
You like
to that
Jezal
group.
and Longfoot? I'm like, God, who are these people you like?
I like Longfoot. He was, and the voice that our guy Steve decided to do for him was so good. He was just like this happy-go-lucky guy who was just happy to be there. It didn't matter for him what was going on. He just wanted to have a good time. So my least favorite.
I am the best, and I Shirley gave us the right route, obviously, because I'm the greatest. All right, buddy.
Yeah, awesome. My least favorite is and will continue to be R.D. West. She's a tough hang.
She's a good drinker, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know, but she's not like a good time drinker.
No,
so,
she's
yeah,
a
I guess
bad.
that's not
She's
good
a
either.
drink, and she's a sad drinker.
She's good at drinking. She's not a good drinker.
Yeah, she just drinks and gets sad. What about loves? What did you love about Before They Were Hanged?
I think I already mentioned it took me a little bit while, but the characters are just so good. Well, I already mentioned too that they all have like flaws, but they're all trying to work on them. They all have like inner dialogues that even when they do something bad, they know they're doing something bad, which makes you kind of like them more because you're like, at least they recognize it, or they're doing it for a reason. There's a purpose. I just I really enjoyed that. I mean, this is kind of like a love/hate, but nothing happens. I already mentioned, but I still was like, great book, fun time reading. Like literally nothing happens. So,
Yeah.
But. And I mean, I prefaced this last book, but you're not going to like this, but it does have the tone of a Lord of the Rings. It's just an adventure with people. There's really no goal even at the end. Lord of the Rings at least is like throw the ring in the fire.
What are you talking about?
They're on an adventure, and you're kind of like, all right, well, I guess we'll see where we go here, but nothing's really happening.
Yeah, this is just not true whatsoever. And the reason why is what you said is the number one, and that's what's kind of missing from this book. But I'm not upset about it necessarily. Like maybe it's a hate, but we
were waiting for the payoff.
we don't
which
know.
Is,
we don't even know what the ultimate goal of the story is. Or we don't know what the purpose of what is happening. We don't understand much of the bigger picture at all. We're just kind of with these people. Whereas Lord of the Rings, you know who the ultimate bad guy is, Sauron. You know who the ultimate good guys are, basically everyone but Sauron and Saruman. And Frodo has his ring that he's got to
women,
throw
which you love.
in a fire. There's a road. Like I have the Lord of the Rings risk game. That risk game is different because the ring moves throughout the map until you get to Mordor, and then you cast it into the fires of Mount Doom. So we know what we're doing the entire series, and yes, along the way we go through Moria, and we then have to defend Helm's Deep. And, Aragorn goes to Minas Tirith and does his thing there. But we know what we're doing. We know who the bad guys and the good guys are.
Stop nerd showing off here.
Those are
naming
general.
off places.
Those are
and
general
things. Yeah,
places.
okay.
I didn't even get into Tom Bombadil.
No one needs to say any of that stuff. Come on.
That's one of my issues with this is it's okay. We have Bayaz. We know there's this whole thing with the 12. He does in this book talk briefly about some lore. So I'm just getting to my hate because my hate is the lore. Because Bayaz does talk briefly about it. And it is an interesting moment where he's talking about Canadius and Juvens and how he fell in love with someone's daughter and Canadius' daughter or whatever, and then killed him. And now there's who's the guy that's running Gurkle? Khalul. So Khalul is the one that Bayaz is up against. Khalul basically Khalul holds Bayaz responsible for the death of Juvens, and he swore vengeance. He's the one that broke the second law and like basically became an eater. So him and Mamoon, and then he found Gurkha or whatever the place is, and that's why they're at odds. So we know Bayaz is at odds with Khalul, and that's part of what's going on, or maybe even all of what's going on. But we hear it for such a brief moment, and then Bayaz tells these kind of like anecdotes about the old times. Mm-hmm. So we don't really care. We don't know much about it because it's not like we've seen these people interact really or know what's going on. So that whole overarching plot line is what's potentially missing. I think what's clear, though, is that everything that's happening is Bayaz and Khalul fighting, but through other people. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing with the Northmen is, like, with Bethod, is Khalul kind of doing something up north to mess with the Empire. The whole thing in Dagaska is Khalul doing stuff there. And then Bayaz is doing what he's doing to kind of be on the side of the Empire so they can fight the Gurkish people, and take down Khalul. But we don't know that. Like, we just assume that's what's going on. So that's why this book is kind of hard for me, because the lore itself I'm not heavily invested in, which would normally be a bad thing. But like you said, the characters are so good and the stories are so good, it makes it fun to read. It's like an episode of Seinfeld or something where, yeah, sure, it doesn't matter at the end that nothing really happened. They didn't get the chocolate babka and go to the woman's house or whatever thing for the party because George wanted to bring Pepsi and not wine. That's the funny stuff. It doesn't matter about them getting to the party. So, yeah, the characters and the storylines are totally fine for me. It's the lore that I have issues with.
Yeah, I hear you.
Do you have any other hates or loves?
My only other hate was, why is it called Before They Are Hanged? I don't even... Does anyone get hanged? Their potential being hanging? I don't even remember. Did I miss that?
There's a phrase. So the title, I guess, references a quote by some German guy, Heinrich Heine. Heine. He said, "We should forgive our enemies, but not before they are hanged," was the quote. So that's the vibe, I guess.
Oh, so it has nothing to do with it's just a German quote. It's kind of 1984, like, we're going to teach you we're going to make you believe in our cause before we kill you, not until then.
Well, it's definitely Logan's mindset towards Bethod, you know? He's like, all right, because Logan's always talking about having scores that he's got to settle. Like with him and Ferro, he wanted to stick it with Ferro, but when she was like, nah, I don't think so, he was like, that's fine, I got scores. Like, I'm going to go take care of my scores in the north. So all of that stuff is like, you know, I'll forgive you, but not after thinking. And maybe that even applies to Bayaz and Khalul, you know? It's like, all right, we are brothers, quote unquote, but I ain't going to forgive you until you're dead.
It should be before they're in the mud.
Ooh. No. Doesn't have the same ring to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before they're mudded, 7th floor crew.
His mudder was a mudder.
But one thing I forgot to say about hates is I hate the map, because it doesn't exist. And they keep talking about all these places. And I'm like, I have no idea how far one place is for another or where they are on a map. And then when I looked it up, I was like, this map kind of sucks. Honestly, it's like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. When you think of Middle Earth, like, I can see that map in my head, talking about Lord of the Rings. I can see that map. I get it. You know, I get kind of in a general idea where they're traveling to and from. And I can always reference it. This is like they're island hopping. You know, it looks more like a video game map.
Yeah, how are you not having boats if this is what
it looks like Donkey Kong Country 2 or something. So, yeah. Not a huge fan of the map.
It kind of looks like Canada.
Like the top of Canada where all the islands are? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe it is Canadius. What do you give it, and who's it for?
I think it's for people that have a little patience with the fantasy realm and know that this is a good series. I give it a 4.0. I still think it's a really fun read. It's a good book. It's just, I think I mentioned this in the first book. I was like, I usually criticize books that don't have any sort of definitive, oh, that's what happened, this is the ending of this book one, and they can live on their own. these first two books really couldn't live on their own. You need the third book, otherwise there's nothing that happens in the series really. So that's my only negative. Again, I don't want to be. I think it's a really good book, really good writer, really good characters. Book 3 is where it all comes together.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's a 4.0 for me. This is kind of like an intro to fantasy series, because if you don't like the idea of like, I don't do sorcerers and dragons and stuff like that, this is great. But you like almost period pieces or whatever the case is, this is for you, because it's the characters are amazing. Like Joe Abercrombie absolutely crushes it with the characters. The story's fun, and it just doesn't have a ton of the big fantasy elements or those confusing fantasy elements. Like even Mistborn, when it's all the different elements that they can use, it's like, that gets really confusing really fast. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward, but it's really enjoyable, and it was fun to read. I'm really glad we jumped right into the next one, because I didn't want to forget it, and I wanted to finish it and see what actually happens with all these characters that we've re-met and re-fallen in love with. So yeah, I'm excited to.
I will say, when I got done the third one, I was like, are there more of these or what? So I looked. I think there is another trilogy, but it's after. It's like 50 years in the future, 25 years in the future.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah. I think it's like the kids of these guys, essentially.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, Ferro and Logan from the cave? Round 2? Banana clipping?
I mean, I don't know which kids. No spoilers.
All right, well, what do we got coming up next?
Next, you already mentioned it. What's the third one called here?
Argument of Kings or something like that?
The Last Arguments of Kings. Yeah. Which is another not great title, but that's all right.
Yeah. The first one was great. The blade itself, like that.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, not so much.
And then we're gonna go right into
London is Falling, right?
Yeah. I already like it. I'm only 10 minutes in, and I was like, I like this vibe already.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where my mom was like, call me right now. And I was like, holy shit, what happened? Why do moms do this? You know, so I call her. I'm like, hey, is everything okay? She was like, yeah, I just want to tell you about this book I'm reading. And I was like, oh my God, you're insane.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, but she's so sweet. She's like, will you do it on your podcast? I was like, that's so nice that you even know what the hell. Which she doesn't, but you know what I mean? It was nice that she said that. And
for sure.
And then Caroline was listening to Dax Shepard's podcast, which she loves, waiting for him to have us on. And he had the author of that book on, and she texted to me like, hey, you should read this book. I was like, that's so weird. My mom talked to me about this the other day. So there was no rule of 3, but a rule of 2 I feel like was hit. So we have to do it now.
Indeed.
All right. Well, that was Before They Are Hanged, and we'll catch you for the third and final installment of the First Law trilogy. All right.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Until then.
Bye now.